When we talk about connotation, what we're talking about is moving beyond the literal meanings of words. And as such, we are really talking about the core of literary language, the thing that distinguishes it from everyday language or other modes of language. One way to think about this is the distinction between denotation, which is an unpacking of the literal meaning of words, and connotation, which moves beyond those literal meanings to the cultural, psychological, and other associations we connect to a word. Now, these connections are interesting because these connections can occur within the culture of the text. By that, we mean the culture that the writer lived within, the culture that her or his readers lived within at the time of the book, or live within now as readers of the book. But the other kind of connections we can make connotatively are within the text itself. In other words, how does this word resonate with what's come before it and what comes after it in the texts? Here's where we're going to start thinking about things like motifs and patterns and collocational sets. But the idea that when I encounter a word on page 200 in Connecticut Yankee, it bears with it connections to and associations with all sorts of other ideas and words in the text, and we can begin making connections not only to the psychological and cultural associations outside of the text in the culture, but also within the text itself. And so connotation works on these two levels. An important way to think about connotation is as the real breaking point in the work that we're going to be doing, because it marks a move from what literature says to how literature says it. In many ways, that's the difference between a lower level writing and thinking course, what does the literature say, to an upper level course, which can say not only what is Twain saying, or what is a writer saying, or what is Plath saying, but how does Twain say it? How does Plath say it? So we get into an important step above what to how. And the more we can explore how, the richer, ironically, the meaning of the what becomes. Another phrase that might help us think about the role of a connotation in this course is that connotation is what requires us to do word level analysis. And A-level work in any literature-based course is going to demonstrate an ability to unpack and interpret the connotations of individual words. Now, sometimes this will come within the frame of literary devices like metaphor and simile and imagery and irony. But sometimes we're just going to unpack the connotations of the word itself as the word and the way it resonates in a text. Let's take a look at an example of how we might use the idea of connotation and the word connotation in an analysis of a text. In this case, I'm looking at a word used from early in Mark Twain's novel, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. And I take that word stripped and I unpack the different associations it has in the culture of Twain and his readers, but also in the text as itself. And as you can see, one word can open up much more analysis of that word, several sentences of analysis of that word. And it's this level of analysis at the level of the word, this level of depth, that's going to be a primary goal of upper level literary analysis.